Hello, everyone. Christopher Von Dam here with Liquid Gold Honey. We're doing another interview with Preston is interviewing me again today. So I welcome everyone to our YouTube channel on this beautiful, happy day of the bees frequency that we like to talk about and many other unusual things that sometimes and many times and most often do come up on our channels because it's information that is less talked about in the mainstream, and it's valuable information that we find important for people to know and realize and gain extra knowledge, because now is a good time to learn new things and practice maybe new things, or maybe try different exercises, or anyway, just now is a good time to stay open-minded, I believe, and work on being as healthy as we can because of everything going on in the world, and be able to learn faster. Because I think the faster that we can learn new things, the better that we are all going to be doing, in our own ways in the decades to come and the generations to come. So this is part of that. We are part of the transition. So I'm very grateful.
Me too.
Grateful for the bees, grateful for Mother Earth, grateful for Preston, who's interviewing me, and grateful for Liquid Gold Honey, our beautiful high frequency honey, that and the bee pollen and the royal jelly and all the beautiful products that the bees make just the exact same way that the bees make it, without any heat or any, contamination. We put those into little different size containers and get it right to the people. So we're
Interesting.
very grateful. And you can, order these products at liquidgold.store, or even on our Insta or TikTok shops, which is on Insta, it's Liquid Gold Honey with two Y's. And you can find us on TikTok and even some other channels too. So, oh, it's nice to be here today. I'm happy that you're all here, and I'm so grateful. So grateful.
Great introduction. I love in the earlier podcast that we had, you did this motion about eating the honey and having it open you up. You did access to all of our brain, and when you did that,
Oh,
ooh, I could feel that.
it's
Like,
like so, right. I mean, that's a good point. Most people only use 2 to 4% of your brain. So when you eat the products that we sell here at Liquid Gold Honey, it helps to unlock the other 96% of unused brain power,
love it.
which in itself is priceless. In addition to raising our frequency, which, there's so many benefits of that, including not getting sick as much, including which raising our consciousness, which also is directly correlated with tapping into part of our brain and tapping into part of our spirits. And these products also help to activate our dormant DNA, which is also uplifting. So it all works, synergistically to uplift us, raise our frequency, raise our consciousness, raise our health, make us strong, strengthen our field, all of our fields, expand our own internal and external protections. And it strengthens all of our organs, our skin, our hair, our eyes, everything. So I'm so grateful. So
Yeah,
grateful.
you guys got something special going on for sure. Yeah. I wanted to actually ask you because um, seems like you have different flavors of honey. Is that right?
Well, we wouldn't call them necessarily flavors, although you could call them that, only because nothing is added to the honey. So we have locations for the bees, all over the state of Florida, from the north end to the south end, and many locations in between. And the way that that works is the bee will actually go to flowers in that region that time of year and collect nectar and pollen, and then come back to the beehive and make honey that kind of tastes like, that flower or that plant. And then a lot of those benefits, or high frequency medicinal benefits from that particular plant or flower, actually carry over into the honey. So that's why all of the honeys that we sell are not only smell different, they taste different, they have different medicinal properties, they have their different colors, and they all are different beneficial, in different ways. So I love every single one of our honey, although some of them are less sweet because the flower on that plant in that region, that time of year, had less sweet nectar. And similarly to how some of the honeys that we sell are more sweet, because that flower in that region, that time of year, had sweeter nectar. So some people like sweeter honeys for tea. Then there's darker honey. Some people say the darker the honey, the more antioxidants. Then antioxidants could equal anti-aging, anti-cancer, anti-depression. Also very good for skin and hair and detox. Some of the real dark ones, some people, they continue to buy if they have throat issues, to help clear that up, or cough. The dark ones are real good to coat that. I saw some report that there's actually evidence that the real dark honeys, including the buckwheat, or we also have the avocado honey down here, that actually coats people's throats and helps them to eliminate the coughs better than different products in the pharmacy, like Walgreens, CVS, whatever pharmacy you go to. But these natural products, the way the bees make, work far better, far better.
You believe that? Yeah. Wow. It's just wild to me that you're not putting anything in there, no syrups or any
No,
flavor.
nothing. I
You never
know. No,
flavor.
no, never feed the bees sugar water like a lot of beekeepers do. Never feed them corn syrup, which a lot of beekeepers do that too. So, and the reason that they would do that is, well, for a few reasons, but monetarily is a big one, because you can get those products for very cheap. You can expand the product to make it much larger, and they can make more money. So we'd rather produce less, have higher quality, and yes, our prices are higher, although you're getting a higher quality product. And we don't ever feed our bees sugar, and we don't ever give them corn syrup. So, at least you're getting the highest frequency, pure product, raw product, organic product when you get it from us. And in the store, there's unfortunately very little regulation in stores. So there's a local supermarket, that's not only in Florida, but it's along the eastern, mostly southeast U.S. And they were caught in some public thing a few years ago because they found that with olive oil that they were selling in their stores, as well as honey, people were putting these other things in it, and nobody was checking up on them that there was other stuff in there. And there was very little honey, and there was all this other stuff, and most people didn't have the discernment in their taste.
Right.
Probably because there are a lot of people in this country and in other countries, but really here have been really disconnected from Mother Earth, and they're not as grounded as maybe, like, let's say the Native Americans were, like, 200 years ago. So I heard a story about the Native Americans, approximately 200 years ago, where the European settlers came and they found Native Americans, and they gave them these candies they made of sugar, and they gave them these candies. And then the Native Americans were eating all these sugar-based candies, and then they ate their food that they would, their corn or their squash or whatever produce that they would grow naturally, on their land. And they'd say, since you gave us this sugar, we can't taste our food anymore. So that's, to me, an example of people eating all of the stuff that's sold in stores, served in restaurants. There's so much artificial stuff in there. They're disconnected from what's real. They've lost a semblance, and it's not their fault, because it's that stuff is in almost all foods. It's in almost all restaurants. It's in almost all prepared foods. It's just in it. All this other stuff that's just not natural. Most of it, in my opinion, is not good for us. It's really hard to get good food. So it's a big thing. I mean, there's also reports that approximately 1940, the Germans were said, well, you can control people if you control the food supply. So, need I say more?
Right. Yeah. It seems like the common factor is that disconnection from ourselves and then
Sure.
world around us, and I think that's a common theme with a lot of people, at least in America, just disconnected from themselves. They don't know that
Great point.
they don't know
Great point.
they're inflamed, or they're like chronically dehydrated, and I am a victim of that. I mean, I have to sort of just keep hitting these. I'm kind of like going out in the dark and hitting the wall and being like, oh, okay, this is what inflammation feels like, or this is what too much sugar, or all this stuff that we're sort of becoming more aware of. Um,
It's normalized in this system, and people,
it's
especially in larger
numbing. It's
cities,
all
through
numbing.
my observation, they're not grounded. So it's great when you're at your wherever you live, take your shoes off, ground, be around trees, be around animals, be around nature, hug a tree wherever you can find one for an extended period of time. Have plants in your house. Believe it or not, plants are higher frequency than most of us. And when they're positioned in different areas of your house, guess what they do? They talk to each other. And when you're in the middle of that, guess what it does? It uplifts you, it raises our frequency. I mean, and then when you're really at one with your plants, you can talk to them and they talk to you, and you can practice telepathy. I did a little short video um, not too long ago about practicing telepathically communicating with animals. And it's fascinating. It's, just, could be outside in nature, see a squirrel, just, maybe project the thought into the squirrel without saying anything, and then be open minded and listen to what comes back to you. And, the first thought that comes to your mind, it could be from the squirrel. So, anyway, that's just one little practice, and it takes regular practice, and it definitely is a thing. And some species communicate very little, if ever, with their mouth, because in a way, it's the old way. So we're all working on this transition, raising our frequency, raising our consciousness, practicing new skills, because there are some skills that, let's just say, our Black Ops military does, and they are now saying, yeah, we do this. Like, okay, we have had guys in camouflage suits just, look like they're meditating and looking at with their minds what's going on underneath this mountain. Um, or, if you're really skilled, if you could look up Pat Price, and he was naturally one of the most skilled remote viewers without formal training. He could read filing cabinets in China in like their defense department, let alone go into the underground ET base in right underneath Hayes, Alaska. And he actually published a list of all the underground ET bases on the planet. And then he realized when he was remote viewing Hayes, Alaska, somebody started remote viewing him back. They have security that will remote view you back. And then he was eating lunch at a cafe. Not too long after that, he just slumped right over into his food, and that was it.
I was gonna say,
Because
yeah,
they
one way to out
they
yourself.
didn't want that to be published. But anyway, but if you really dig, you can find this stuff. And what he published, I think he exited this body in 1975. What he published and put out there, you can still find it online if you dig deep enough. There's underground bases in Caucasus, Spain, Australia, Alaska, all over the place. So you dig deep enough, you'll find it yourself, and very interesting stuff. And anyway, you can learn a lot of these skills. Like you can learn telepathy, you can learn precognition. There's exercises you can do.
It's
You can learn
definitely
remote viewing, just like the military teaches in certain departments remote viewing. There's guys in camouflage suits remote viewing. You can learn it. We can all learn it. So that's skills. So just like our brain, our sorry, our you go to the gym, you do curls, you exercise every day. You do brain exercises. Yeah,
right.
you exercise your brain. There's certain things that you can do. Our products help you to amplify that
That's the cool
because
part.
of the raising the consciousness part, connecting part of your brain part, activating your DNA part. And then once you're doing that physically, emotionally, spiritually, you can actually learn skills. So when you're ready to learn skills, there are skills out there to be learned, and I think people can, and it's probably best to start learning new and relevant skills
And
for
make it,
the era and trajectory that we're going on this planet.
yeah, I definitely agree. There's a new set of skills that the new human will be having access to. And I think it comes from being first aware of yourself, subtly aware of the thoughts and emotions that are around, and then, like you said, how to project those, your own energy consciously. Because I think we're all doing stuff like this. We're just not owning the craft. And I've been researching how to make it, because I think the first step is also healing the breaks, the blocks from getting to that calm state. There's a lot.
It's mostly emotional stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we spoke about before, like that's through research shows that things that hold people back psionically more than anything else is their own emotional stuff or trauma. So it took me years to confront everything that I had to deal with. Like just confront the way I did it was just confront it head on, sit with it, just be with it, and just get okay with everything that occurred in my life with my, you know, great family and my great childhood. And everybody has their own stuff. And
Yeah.
just to work through all that. And
There's no
then it would, once we work through that, it like we let some of this, we let weight go. And it literally, we get lighter and it opens us up to so many more possibilities.
we make
It's
space,
almost infinite. It's almost infinite. It might be infinite, actually. Just like us. I mean, we all
right?
potentially have the potential to be Neo. If you think about it, we all can be Neo. If all you have to do is believe, know, train, practice, you're invincible, you're unstoppable, you're unlimited. We all are.
Your
It's just doing
field,
it, knowing it, letting that stuff go. That I can't, that matrix that was created on this planet to control these people
yeah,
for thousands of years is the old way. It's that system is going to the wayside. People are realizing, you know what? I'm way more powerful than whoever told me I wasn't. And I can do these things. Somebody said, like, oh, telepathy is just in movies. No. When you realize that's real, and you're like, well, wait, well, what else is real? What else was I told I couldn't do because it was only in movies? I can do everything. That it boils down to I'm unlimited. I can do everything. There's nothing I can't do.
yeah, our field is like our field interacts with the world. So when we're
Yes.
having those empowering thoughts, you know, our field is like a limb and starts to shift and move things and
Yes.
path and being like,
Yes.
it's like a limb. It is like an arm. And when we encode
Yes.
ourselves past those grounding or those dense, ungrounding rather, beliefs and traumas, then we make space for all those beautiful things to happen. And
Right.
we can have both, but then there's a dissonance there and they don't play well. So we might have I'm amazing, and my life is great. But then there's also this something else that we haven't gone through, and it's sort of putting things in our path that for us to get past and work on. I feel like that was a part of is a part of my growth, is like recognizing something that I'm working on and then start to see it in my world, in my day to day. And it's there showing up for catalyst for me to recognize, feel what's going on here, why I'm creating this somehow, and this is somehow that I'm participating in it somehow. And then that's a big part of the healing work. I think that is good. And then you clear that area, and then you can start to maneuver around and create space for these extra physical talents. And I think everyone has some good innate talents that are going to come out when they start to connect and start to eat healthy and eat high frequency foods. And like I said, like it'd be great to make it easier on ourselves. Are there certain
Absolutely.
is there certain medicines, is that energy medicines or food medicines that help us? Like I'm all about that. I think that frequencies can hold a field that we can easily connect to ourselves and the universe in. And then also foods like the honey, like you said, the highest vibrational food made by the highest vibrational being on our planet potentially. That's just got to hold so much charge and give us so much of a leg up when we're trying to do this stuff. Like we were talking before about the jelly, the royal jelly. Like if I thought the honey was cool, the royal jelly is like something incredible. And I know we went through that, so we don't have to.
Yeah, that's right up there with the bee pollen concentrate. So the bee pollen concentrate and the royal jelly are like, they're both different products, although they're both like a couple of the top products
That's great.
that from the bees. So beautiful,
I'm
beautifully
curious. I have
extraordinary.
one question for you. If you could think of what the bees' mission here on Earth is, if they have one, you know, maybe they're not necessarily super conscious of it, it's just more innate. But what would you say, like, what would be a mission that the bees have?
Well, there's kind of two. And they're kind of all the same. So that, of course, my thinking was that, well, hey, the bees are here to help all of us to ascend to the next level of consciousness because they're beyond us. We can watch them, we can be around them. Their products help us, their sounds help us, their smell helps us, just being close to them helps us vibratorily, and they help us. Look, they help each other. Just watching their behavior is helpful. And then, it's pretty much connected to that also, is that the bees are basically wanting us, bottom line, to all live happily ever after. In a nutshell. In a nutshell.
They make it easy.
Yes. Yes. They're kind of leading the way.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
they're the
Yeah.
and that's what I love about the name of this
They're
podcast.
the ambassadors. Really, the bee ambassadors. And, so I kind of work for them. Basically, I'm the bee's employee.
I love that image.
Hey,
Yeah, I
what
gotta
do
get
you want
off.
me to go do?
I gotta get
Okay, I'll
off in
go
20 minutes to take the meeting with the queen.
do it. Okay, get to work, mister.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm going.
love that, dude. Are there any like messages or things that you pick up when you're working with bees out in nature?
Yeah, sure. Like we talk to each other. So just like we talked about, telepathically communicating with a squirrel or with birds, or, I have conversation with bees. And then sometimes when they're trying to tell me something, they'll come headbutt me. And they'll be like, okay, come on now. This is the thing, do this. And I was like, oh, okay. Or, and, I swear, like, and sometimes they come close to me, they almost headbutt me. and then they, ricochet out. And it's such a, I don't even know how else to say this, but my interactions with them, like the idea is because I'm open, when they relay a message to me, whether it's headbutting me or just coming close to me, it puts a message in my head. And, it's something for me to do and be helpful with them and with us and with all of us working together. So it's always different. And it's sometimes completely not what I would have expected. And sometimes I'm surprised. Like sometimes they're like, hey, go over here for this. And I'm thinking it's okay, it's to go over here to this area for one reason. But then when they direct me over to this area, it's for a completely different reason. Like there's something that needed to be tended to. So anyway,
Sure.
the biggest thing for me is remaining open. So, like you were alluding to, and we kind of talked about just not too long ago, in order for us to be fully open, first we got to like let go of whatever stuff we got to let go of. We're holding on to something. I've held on to stuff before, and it took me whatever time and processes I had to go through to let go of that, especially when it's something painful.
A few things, yeah.
It really was. No, with like claws.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I would not, people were like, even people would come up to me, they're like, you got to let go of this. And you know what I'd say to them? I can't.
I can't.
I'm sorry. I know.
Like, help me, I know.
I said, I know it would be at that moment, this is years ago. I know it would be good for me to let go, but I can't. At that moment, I sorry, but I just cannot.
Sure, yeah.
And I was in it. And, that was like 10 years ago or more or less. And there was something that happened that was traumatic for me at the time. And right after it happened, people were like, you got to let it go. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but I cannot. So I just had to go through what I had to go through to let that go. And it took me whatever exercises I had to do, whatever time I had to just be alone or be in nature, or then I had to be around people that, I don't know, I just wanted to listen to things from other, just to communicate, or just to, sometimes it's good to be around people. And,
Yeah.
I had to go through what I had to go through to release everything that I had to release so that I can be open now. And I had to deal with a lot of stuff. And, some stuff was kind of dark. And let's just say it wasn't easy. And let's just say it took many years for me to like figure all that stuff out. And thank God I did, because I'm not the same person today that I was, years ago. And I'm grateful for that, because I had to do a lot of internal work, a lot of meditating, some physical work, spiritual growth, practices, like for me, it includes daily yoga, daily qigong, exercising, eating right. Like I'm mostly plant-based. I'll do some seafood here and there. Mostly plant-based. I like to do raw because there's still life force. So you want to hear an interesting bit of information that I researched probably more or less than 5 years ago. So there's highly advanced inner Earth tribes, which when I was living in Mount Shasta in 2020, when things got a little silly around most of the planet, I moved there. And one of the reasons I moved there was not only to explore, was to try to meet the Telosians, because apparently they have some city made of crystals underneath the volcano, and to find an entrance, because Mount Shasta has, according to the maps I've seen, an entrance to Agartha, which is this highly advanced system of lava tubes that had lava in them millions of years ago, and now they don't. And then people like us moved down there like somewhere between 10 and 15,000 years ago. Without the suppression, they evolved much more. They communicate mostly telepathically. They're taller for the most part, because there's less gravity down there. They have higher technology. Anyway, very advanced
I,
things are going on there.
I wonder what it's like
And
for
there's
picking up.
sorry.
I wonder what it's like for them to be picking up what we're all going through up on the surface.
Well, okay, so around the the Mount Shasta area for miles in every direction of that whole entire area, they do emit this loving, just loving energy, just
Yeah, yeah.
beautiful energy that actually with certain devices, it is measurable. So my research shows that down there, they do eat plant-based and they eat all raw because it has life force in it. And eating other animals has been outlawed down there. And somehow, because there's oceans under there, there's and they're it's fresh water. So that's why people wonder, well, when icebergs come, it's all fresh water because icebergs are generated at the North Pole and the South Pole. And guess what? There's entrances to this Agartha network at the North Pole, South Pole, and in cool different areas all over the planet. So anyway, even the sharks that live inside of the oceans, as there's much more water inside the oceans inside the planet, apparently the reports show, than all the oceans combined on the outside of the planet. So even the sharks that live in there, they don't eat meat anymore. They're vegetarian. So because they've evolved in such a way, and read reports of people that have been there years ago, even 200 years ago, made it back out, and they reported feeling this vibratory energy that was like nothing that they felt on the surface. There's some sort of emitting energy down there that just it uplifts you. It makes you feel good. It amplifies you. And I don't know if that's naturally occurring or if they have some high level of technology that emits something. Apparently, they do have this sort of maybe like crystal reactors that are a light source so they can grow sprouts, they can grow plants. There's some animals that live down there that are extinct on the surface that are thriving down there, like, woolly mammoths in certain areas. There is everything's bigger. Like some
I
of
was
the
gonna
people
say
are
it's,
like,
it's a big place.
yeah, some of the people are like 10 or 15 feet tall. They mostly communicate all telepathically. Some have beards, some don't have beards, some are blonde, some are brown hair, some probably have black hair too.
Yeah.
There's diverse, very, very diverse. They have music is important for them. Higher learning is important for them. The color gold and the material gold is important for them because the reports I've seen the music school, it's like, plated in gold, and like schools of higher learning, they're plated in gold down there. So the gold is a very special substance, not just on our surface, most likely not just inside our planet, but in other parts of the planet, solar system and beyond. Also, I mean, the reports say that the Anunnaki that came here, and maybe had a hand in creating us, they were mining gold because their planet, which is something called Nibiru outside of Pluto, they blew out their environment, their atmosphere, and were mining gold or having the indigenous people, let's say in Peru or other locations to mine gold, for the gods and throw it all into Lake Titicaca as an offering to the gods. And then all this, they would take it, they'd bring it back, they grind it into powder, and they blow it into their atmosphere to try to heal their atmosphere, which apparently there's a smaller planetoid outside of Pluto that I think is just now being recognized by some scientists. Anyway, there's some stuff that's being recognized that's not being recognized by mainstream science. Although I heard like a year or two ago, Elon Musk did go to Mount Shasta and he did measure some measurable energy that was coming out of the mountain. Of course, he tried to figure out how to monetize it, and to capture it and to encapsulate it maybe into like a battery or some other thing, because he realized that there really is measurable energy coming out of the base of the mountain, and it really is special energy. So there's a lot of stuff going on that's not talked about in the mainstream. And I know, most of our viewers or a lot of them may think, sometimes I get a little crazy with some of this stuff, but I think it's, absolutely fascinating. There's much more than is talked about. And, I could just continue to stay open-minded and open to new concepts and new information and, just to be able to continue learning. Because right now to continue learning is a really big thing.
You know,
Because if you really look and you dig, there's slowly being a lot of information being released, whether it's frequency healing information or vibration healing devices or energetic healing stuff.
yep.
There's light therapy, there's sound therapy. That some of the stuff is ancient, like the Chinese use gong therapy, the Tibetans use the bowl therapy. Whether there's the crystal bowls, there's the Tibetan bowls that we were made a beautiful meditation on. You put it together. It was actually really really good, and we
Cool.
talked about it in one of those videos
I
where it got me like, and because it was a cool thing on that short clip of the meditation that you put together with the bees
yeah.
frequency and the Tibetan bowls at the same time. And it would, I think it was on Instagram, and it would replay itself. Like if it was just a few seconds long, but if you just let it go, you didn't touch any buttons, it would just keep playing in a loop. So I was able to keep listening to the Tibetan bowl, the frequency of the bees, just kind of block everything out, opening myself up, expanding my fields, letting everything go. Just
It's like a
I love it.
paradox. It's like a paradox listening and meditating with bees because I feel like bees usually bring up some kind of like, you know, anxiety for most people, I would say. When bee comes around, there's like that. But then there's this sort of like gap when it has the same power to calm and ground, I felt. Like
You know,
bees
you
is
brought up two very interesting points. So, what my heart is telling me, the first thing that came into my mind from what you just said, is if I listen to just the bees. So that's why on our YouTube channel here, we're actually slowly, if you're watching some, especially some medium to longer videos, we're starting to put more videos out there that are just the bees. And yes, you can look at them on the screen, although you can listen to their frequency. So just what came to my mind is if we shut our eyes, listen to this frequency, basically we channel all of the benefits, all of the healing, all of the high uplifting bee frequency that helps to, heal our organs, uplift, open our chakras, expand our consciousness, expand our fields, activate our DNA. I mean, talk about emulating and channeling and just in our mind, kind of becoming a being for a short period of time and just get into that little, I got my wings, I got my tail, I'm making my buzzing like vibration, and just kind of just go with that. I think that it's extraordinarily beneficial to when we meditate with the bees, actually think about the bees, channel the bees, become the bee. Becoming the bee will actually channel their energy, channel their frequency, elevate us, open us up. I mean, we might even grow wings and fly. Although I feel in my heart, my deepest heart, that channeling the bee, meditating on the bee, becoming the bee, literally in our mind, being the bee will benefit us. So I just wanted to put that out there. I love everyone so, so much. It's time to be the bees. I love you guys.
and fly
Have a
away.
sweet night.
Yeah, thanks
Bye.
everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Great point. Great point, man. Really.
Blessings. Thank you. I love you.